Hey y'all, welcome back to our newly named EverGreene Farms. If you've watched any of our videos before, we were formerly known as Willow Creek Hillside Homestead, and we've just decided that that name didn't fit us very well. So we have changed the name of our farm to EverGreene Farms. A little backstory on the name, we actually spelled green with an E, and that was my maiden name. I grew up on a beef farm, and it's just a little way to pay tribute. Also, my husband had a sister who passed away in her early 20s. She was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis since she was basically a baby, and if you don't know anything about that, it's a disease that does not have a cure, so life expectancy typically is not very long, just depending on how it affects your body. So there you have a tree that she got when she was in elementary school. I think it's a white pine, I'm not exactly sure, but it's one that the leaves and the limbs start at the ground and then go all the way up to the top. She planted that when she was in elementary school, and now that tree is huge, and she passed away when she was 23 years old. She would have been 40 this year, so that is kind of our tribute tree to her, so that's evergreen as well. So the EverGreene Farms is kind of a tribute to her and also a tribute to my family as well. So we've changed the name of our farm to EverGreene Farms instead of the Willow Creek Hillside Homestead. But welcome back. I haven't made a video in probably a year. We've had a lot of things happen, a lot of changes happen here on the farm. Hopefully we can get back into the swing of things and do more videos, but I've been canning green beans this week, and I wanted to share the process with you of how everything has been going and how I can my green beans. I apologize, this video will be kind of chopped up because I've been out of practice and I forgot I was videoing through part of it, so I will be narrating through it, and I hope this makes sense. Here you go. Hey, welcome to my kitchen. This is a green bean. Actually, this green bean is not actually green, it's pretty white. This one is pretty far gone. That one is going to be a shelly. Green beans actually should be green, just like these that I've already got broken, and I just happened to find one I missed, so I wanted to show you all just in case you've never seen a string bean before. This is actually the turkey craw variety, and you break the string part off. I bend that part that was sticking out backwards and then bring it down to the other end and then break that end off and string it down that way. That way your mess all stays together. Typically, if this was a green bean that was not past its prime, you would just go ahead and break that into 2 to 3 pieces per bean. I normally like to put 2 actual like shelly sized beans in each broken piece. But here, that one just fell on apart. So we're going to take those big beans out. Those are what we call shellies. And you'll see down in that bowl that we have some shellies in there with the green beans. So here's my setup. I've got purified water in my electric teapot. I've got my clean jars, my lids and my rings in hot water. And I've got my recipe going right here. I also had salt and chopsticks and my canning funnel. We're looking at the raw pack recipe. That is what we used. To do the raw pack, you just break your green beans and you don't cook them, and then you pack those into your jars. So what I'm doing here is taking some purified water, putting just a little bit in the bottom of all of my jars, and then I'm going to go through and do the salt. Now with the jars that I'm doing right now, they're pint jars. You do half of a teaspoon per jar. If you were doing quarts, you do a whole teaspoon of salt per jar. I like to put a little bit of water in the bottom. That way the salt has something to go ahead and start dissolving into. So that's what I'm doing here. And as soon as I get all the salt in, I'm going to move on to packing the green beans. And I use Redmond real salt. It's got all the vitamins and minerals added in. It is mined out in the western United States. It really is the best salt that I've found to use. Okay, so I've got my instant teapot heating there. I'm just going to go ahead and start putting handfuls of beans down into my jars. I'm going to do a few of these jars, and then I will finish the rest and then come back to you. I think you can get the hang of it as we start here. So we're going to put the green beans in the jars, and I like to shake them down. I fill it up to about the bottom of the rim, and then I take my chopstick and just kind of push them down and poke them down around. Try to get rid of as much airspace as possible. You want to get your jars pretty full, because as they cook, you'll start to have space. You can see towards the bottom I've kind of got a air gap there. So we're going to keep packing, and then once we put water in it, we can help adjust it a little bit better as well. So I'm going to continue working on this, just poking that chopstick in and around and trying to get as many in there and all the air pockets out just best that I can. Now I fill my jar up. The recipe says to fill it up with 1 inch headspace, which basically is to the bottom of where your rim starts there. So I pack it tight into that, and then once I put water in it, sometimes that gives you a little bit more free space, so then I'll add some more beans at that point in time. So let's just go ahead and do a couple of more jars here, and then I will skip on to the next part. And I apologize, I don't have any background music or anything right now. I've actually got someone that's hopefully going to be writing some music for our channel, so soon you'll have something nice to listen to as the videos progress, so you don't have to listen to me talk the whole time. But for now, just pretend you're listening to nice, quiet, peaceful music. I'm sitting outside as I'm voice recording this, so you may be able to hear the wind and the birds, so let me hush. Oops. Nothing was lost. It was fine. Again, this chopstick business, you can use a butter knife or anything just to get the air pockets out. Is a very important step. Alright, so we're moving on to filling up our jars with water. We're going to take our boiling water and fill it up just to that 1 inch headspace, which is to the bottom of where the rim starts, where you would actually put your lid on. And you want to take your chopstick again, poke it down in there. I'm not sure that you can really see, but there will be air bubbles that come out. Now be careful at this part. The water is hot, but use your fingers or use something to poke the beans down in there. And if you have enough room, you can stick a few more beans in. If you don't, then just top it on off with the water until you reach that 1 inch headspace. I needed just a little bit extra here in this one. And then you're going to take and wipe your rim off, just in case you have any of that salt or anything that can be blocking a good seal. Wipe that off with a clean towel, or I like to use a paper towel. And then you're going to twist your lid and your ring on just to finger tight, which means you're not actually going to use any wrist action whenever you're tightening your jars. If you tighten your jar lids too tight, you could cause them to buckle, and then of course it's not going to seal if it buckles up. So just twist it with your fingers only. Resist the what word am I looking for? Resist the want to of using your wrist to crank that down. Just don't do it. It's bad news. So finger tight only when you're putting those lids on. So we're moving on, getting the rest of these jars filled. I'll do a couple with you, and then we'll break away on to the next portion. Finger tight only. See? Look at me. Good job, Jenna. Good job. Okay, now we've got our canner ready to go. Now, beans need to be pressure canned. They are not acidic enough to be water bath. Well, let me take that back. You can water bath beans, but you're going to have to water bath them for like 3+ hours. So pressure canning is going to be your quickest. Now, while I was getting those beans packed into the jars, I did have my canner on with about 2 inches of water in the bottom. It does have a little rack in the bottom. If for some reason your canner doesn't have a rack, you need to put a dish towel or something so that the jars, once they start boiling, don't beat around. So you're just going to put your jars down into that water, and when you're ready, you're going to go ahead and put your lid on. Make sure that it has the gasket in it. Make sure that this little thing right there in the middle, you can see through it. I didn't do that step, but make sure you do that. You'll put your lid on, you're going to turn everything on to high. It might take about 30 minutes to come up to temperature. Once it comes up to temperature, you're going to let it vent. So out of the filter area that you know right now, you're going to have air and steam coming out of that. You have to let that do that for 10 minutes, and then you take your weight off. Then you have to wait until pressure comes up, and that weight right here starts moving. When it starts moving, you just slowly adjust the temperature down until the weight is a little bit more controlled. So for time, you have to pressure can those for 20 minutes, but for 25 minutes. For my elevation, I do 15 times the pressure, and so which is just really quickly as all of that process goes. So once you turn off your stove eye, you are then going to let your canner come all the way down to 0 pressure. When it has 0 pressure, you're going to leave your lid on for 5 minutes. Then you're going to remove your lid and leave the jars in there for 10 minutes, and then you can remove them and actually put them out on the counter, and then you don't need to touch them for 12 hours. So thanks for watching my green bean canning adventure. I hope it made sense. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments. And remember, if I can do this, you can do this. God bless you.